Get cracking. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Camilita Podcast. This is where you learn to live like a champion. Today, we have got one of the most underrated champions on the planet. Let me tell you, this woman is in the process of setting up a £1 billion, that's with a B, okay, program for entrepreneurial women and men across the globe. So I'll tell you a little bit about her in a minute. Don't forget to subscribe to YouTube, where you can listen to the podcast again and again. Also, so give us a review on iTunes if you love this information. And also, if you have any questions, just go to camilita.com and leave your details. Let me first introduce our speaker today. I'm going to talk about her from the perspective of how I know her, not from her amazing bio. She has won several awards across Europe and Africa on her entrepreneurial spirit, on the work in which she's done to build £130 million business over the last 30 years. She has created multiple businesses. She's helped give back to so many children across Africa, across the UK, and across the world. She has a charity that she runs that supports children as well. She has a farm. She's got multiple properties. She's got an amazing family. But more importantly, she has got a humble spirit and a humble heart to support businesses across the globe. So let's welcome to the Camilita Podcast, Nyasha Gwatidzo.
Oh, thank you very much, Camilita. It's always a pleasure to talk to you and to your audience. I just love it. I just love it.
You won't believe how much I learn from you. Like you learn from me and I learn from you.
Yeah.
It's good, Nyasha.
Yeah.
I've read about your mini bio. It's a lot bigger than that.
Yes. No.
No, I know you didn't start off like that, like from zero to 130 million. And in fact, we're doing this interview and you're in Zimbabwe right now.
Yeah.
Tell us about your background. How did this all get started?
Oh my God, I was born in Zimbabwe, rural school village. My parents were teachers and I've just come back. I just always feel really energized, bring back childhood memories. I've just come back from my auntie's village. I said, I cannot meet Camilita's podcast because I didn't have any access to internet. And so I digital detox from Saturday until now. It's quite interesting. And I didn't miss it, I thought I was actually going to miss being able to be on Zoom. And I just loved just catching up and just being grounded. And I was doing things like I used to do when I was a child, pounding some maize and pounding some millet for dinner, really back to basic, no machinery, doing it, really what I call back together. And as usual, as I'm minding my own businesses, visiting my auntie, I come across women entrepreneurs. They're all over the world. They're everywhere. One woman turned up selling her fish. She orders them in town, and she had this cooler box, and she was selling this fish. And my auntie said, "Oh, I'm sorry, my auntie is one of her best customers." And she said, "I can't buy you any because I brought her some fish because I know she likes fish." And then yesterday we had someone come around and selling tea bags and fish, dried fish, and beans and whatever. And I got some tea bags. We didn't have any tea bags. And it's just unbelievable. And I was just talking to them about how they go, where do they get their products? How do they go about doing their business? Are they making any profits out of all this work? It seems hard work.
So you went there to rest and now you're working.
And I was busy talking to them. And then, very interesting. I visited a gardening project where they're growing a lot of cabbage and vegetables with women to feed their kids, and it's just incredible. I'm always in.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute because that's your heart.
Yes.
So you moved from Zimbabwe to the UK, and then you started up in chemistry.
I know.
She has a degree in chemistry. Okay.
Yes,
And then she
that's true.
transitioned into childcare and then
Yeah.
built a multi-million-pound childcare
This,
fostering business.
yeah,
Nyasha,
yes.
how did that all come about from chemistry to fostering? Like, seriously, take it up.
I think it was always there. My mother was saying, "I'm not surprised that you work with children." I mean, if you saw me when I was 4, I'll be carrying a baby on my back somehow. I just love babies, and I still love babies today. I go all weekend broody and silliness when it comes to babies. So children are I feel very strongly about it, and I think chemistry. And it was really, I just can't get over it sometimes. It was my chemistry teacher, my supervisor. When I was doing my PhD, he said, I was talking to him about my child, the kids I was seeing at the doctor's surgery because I was doing this part-time. And I never knew he was listening to me. He was just saying, nodding, and I'm saying, oh, I don't know whether I should be telling him even about it. And he said, Nyasha, you just light up when you talk about these children. Why don't you become a social worker? And I said, why should I become a social worker? I wanted to be this academic. It's just incredible about how, in that moment, my career and I revisited back again my purpose, why I was here was to help children. It was nothing to do with chemistry. I was just good at it when I was at school. Yeah, and I have goosebumps when I think about that moment. And I never saw him again. He gave me 2 numbers, one for Goldsmith College and Pelham Institute, and I never looked back.
Literally a switch, but it's obviously something that you were growing up with, and then you had a switch from chemistry to fostering. How did you become so successful? Because I know there are loads of people that have childcare facilities, they've got children's homes, they've got businesses, but they're not hugely successful. They just do it because it's an opportunity to generate revenue, to look after their families. How did you become so successful in it? Why were you so different?
I do think that my passion was the thing around it. I genuinely feel very passionately about children. It was never about generating money. As I said, I didn't even have a business plan. I never thought, honestly, I just feel that I'm a businesswoman by default. Not by, some people are so driven. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. In year 1, I've got to make so many millions. In year 2, I've got to make, it was never like that for me. I just wanted to do the right thing for the children and to get them the right help. And it started with the children's home. And in my research for my first children's home, I wanted to be different because the government at that time were moving from looking after children in groups of 100, 200. And I think it needed to be more therapeutic, a smaller group. So I only looked after 6 kids, but they were very, very damaged. And because of my training I'd had, I wanted to be therapeutic. So I wanted to distinguish myself from the mainstream. There were other children's homes, as I said, I visited 40 of them, who were doing similar things. They were running, I think, 10 or 12 children in a home. But they were not coming from a therapeutic background about how do we help children, support children who've been abused, who've been traumatized, who've been neglected. How do we help them? Because it's more than just providing food on the plate. You know what I mean? It's doing repair work because of that damage. And we needed to understand how best to help them. Because sometimes when they're lashing out, it's quite easy for us to take it personally. But it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with their experience, how they've suffered under the hands of adults, their parents.
So you looked at what differentiated you from everybody else that was in?
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest reasons why I was successful. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be unique, and just being so. On point and being so focused about adding value to children's lives.
You talk about, I remember a call we did, you talked about you were one of the first social entrepreneurs in the world, but probably
yeah, in
even though
UK.
you were a social entrepreneur.
I didn't know I was until literally 15 years later when I read an article in The Guardian, and I contacted the journalist that day. I couldn't believe it. I said, God, this is me. This woman is talking about me. And I definitely knew that I wasn't the mainstream entrepreneur. I wanted to make a difference in the community, looking at a community problem and using enterprise to find a solution to it. And I just, I never did describe myself as an entrepreneur or businesswoman, but I didn't know what my identity was until this article. Wow. And I struggled with that, and I think I still struggle with it today in terms of institutions understanding what I do and what difference I make, and it's really difficult. You know, when you're not making a widget and you're providing that level support. If you're making a widget or a computer, it's a functional thing. You can see it and you can see how it helps people. But helping these children in society who do not really have a voice and don't have a voting power, they're really the bottom of the bottom. It's very difficult for people to understand it as a business, because when I started 30 years ago, all the charities do that, local authority do that, and I said I do it.
So you were one of the pioneers, sort of in this industry, and like so many people today that have a brilliant idea and people don't know or haven't caught on that idea. You saw a gap in the market and you saw an opportunity to give more and to be to give a better service, and in this case for children, but doing it in such a way whereby you dug deep, you went down to what actually made a difference to them and not just to your bottom line. And as a result, you became rich in the process. That is so powerful. But you touched on something that you talked about. Some people, businesses, organizations, institutions don't understand your business model. What were some of the challenges you faced in developing this brand?
Oh, it's just, this was 35 years ago. I still have the same problem. Like banks, for example, they won't give me any money. They won't give me an overdraft facility. And they open a bank for me to open my children's home bank account. But they're saying, Nyasha, you cannot be £1 overdrawn. And until today, honestly, people don't believe me when I say that I do not have an overdraft facility. I'm almost unbankable, unemployable, and whatever. So access to money is it's been the biggest challenge to grow my business. I've grown it organically. The more money I made, the more I reinvested and reinvested and reinvested, because my issue was not to have this one, was to make a bigger impact and not feeling, some people feel guilty about earning money, but I don't, because I am very clear what I wanted to increase my impact. I want to, I started with 2 children, whatever, I'm going to make their life, but I want to make, millions of impact to children's lives. So it has enabled me to grow my business. It has enabled me to have my charity where I pay school fees for kids in Africa, and the charity I have at the farm. And it just I just feel so blessed. And
what would you say then? Because this is a really good point. What would you say to someone that's listening? They have an idea that is brilliant. And I know you coach people on this, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes.
What would you say to people who they've got an idea and they think this idea could actually make money? However, they have a problem with earning money because they think it should be done as a charity or not for profit.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What would you say to those people that are listening?
I would definitely say that they need to really, really deep about its mindset. What and money messages we got when we were little, or the society tells us you really to challenge them. Where do they come from? Are they yours, or money beliefs? Because sometimes people, they've got these values or beliefs which they're borrowed really from family messages, generation and generation, things have just been said. in passing, and they're just messages which have ingrained in us, but they're not really yours. And to question them, even if they're yours, what does this belief enable me to do? Because if it's not working for you, then you need to really think about it. Maybe I should think about it differently. Just reframing the same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe think about what would you do if you had the money? Even if you have had this bad example or message that it's not good for you to have money, what would you do with it? Think of other people, not yourself.
You said it there. You said the goal is to make a bigger impact. And I was going to ask you that question, sort of, what is your next big thing? Now that's coming.
I've got very good things coming up.
Your billion pound fund. Bigger impact. Like you over there and you sort of seeing all these women. Tell us about the fund and how can people get in touch with you if they're interested to know more about working with you.
I've got a website, Nyasha, Gwatidzo.com, and people can get it. I'm on LinkedIn, and the fund came from my own experience in Europe, not having access to money. And I just thought about thinking about it, that women in particular really find it difficult to access money to grow their business globally. And women in Africa are even more disadvantaged in having access to money because they don't have collateral, they don't have assets. If they've got anything, it's really of no value. It's normally the husband or the brother or the uncle who actually holds the assets. I mean, I've just come back from my aunt's village, and all the men are the ones who own the cows. And I said, but what about the women? And a cow is about $500 and it's of value. And if you've got 10 of them, you've got quite a lot of money. If you've got 100 of them, it's quite a huge asset, but they don't belong to the women. Little boys have got cows. And I said, little girl, I mean, the idea of a little girl having a cow, is just unheard of. And so I thought it was a two-way thing. I wanted to come and live in Africa and spend more time with my mother. I was diagnosed of having a huge vitamin D deficiency, and I couldn't do it by just going to the Caribbean every now and again for 2 weeks, like I do. And going with you as well, Camilita.
Yes, to Barbados.
we got to go to Trinidad next.
We do.
And Bahamas and you name it, we've got to go. But it wasn't enough. So I wanted to spend more time in Africa. And so what could I take? And that's when I came up with this idea of my fund, World Impact Capital. And it was really supposed to be only 100 million for Africa, for African women. And when I started looking into it and talking to the private equity people, they say, it's just a drop in the ocean. So that I said, why can't I make it $1 billion and have a bigger impact? That's what I'm always thinking about. What impact am I going to make with such a resource, with such a fund, or such business, whatever the business model? I'm always thinking, really thinking big. And when you're starting in this financial world, it's not my world. I'm an entrepreneur. And it's a completely different language. So that's why I was starting small. I think at one point I even said, I'll start with 10 million. And setting up the fund alone costed 10 million.
Wow.
And so, that's where I am now. And I'm just so excited.
It's so powerful listening to you. I mean, we were talking, my husband and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and my story of growing up in the Caribbean and growing up really poor and struggling through school and everything. And in 2021, we're launching an entrepreneurial program for young people where we're going to be funding young people across the world on entrepreneurship. So it's my passion because someone helped me when I was a child with entrepreneurship, with education. It's my real passion, and I've been wanting to do it for a while. I did it before in Trinidad, and now it's like, no, it's the right time. We want to do this, and I've got some amazing people like Alec, who as well. Where we set it up and really support people, and I think that's sort of the part of the the giving back, the next big thing, sort of in your life and the goals and with all that you've achieved, and you've achieved a lot, okay? You've done tremendously well. What would you say has been your biggest accomplishments to date?
Oh, you won't believe it. It's nothing to do with business. Being a mother, being a grandmother, and managing those relationships as an entrepreneur is really tough. When you're so consumed with your passion and you can become quite extremely selfish with your time. So I think it's been one of the biggest accomplishments for me, that I managed to being a mother, and I just got about functioning children, functioning grandchildren, as well as having to run a business. It's really tough. But I think as women, we're just very good multitaskers.
Yeah, we are. Sometimes too much.
Too much, yes.
Right. So before we close up, Nyasha, just really quickly, what would you say has been your biggest life lesson? Out of all that you've learned in business and in life, what has been your biggest life lesson our listeners can take away with them to implement in their own life?
For me, I always go back to having an idea and having dreams. I dream every day, and I so many ideas every day. The biggest life lesson for me is to make that first step. It is the most difficult. And I was thinking about me raising my billion, that the biggest difficult is going to raise the first million. Yeah. It's going to be the most difficult. But making that first step and taking action, I really do think, and this waiting for everything to being perfect. The world, my life has taught me nothing is perfect. So I always go for good enough. If it's good enough for me to take the first step, and
you just get on with it. Yeah.
I'm just a doer. Yeah. I just take action, even if it's wrong. Just go ahead and take it. At the time when I made that wrong step, I thought it was a right step. So it doesn't matter.
Just do it. Just do it.
Let's do it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. One last question, Nyasha. I know you've read and you've traveled and you've done a lot of things. What would you say has been the most impactful book or person or place you've visited or teaching, probably including your parents or teachers? What has been the most impactful thing that has made the biggest impact in your life to what you're doing today?
Goodness. I think the most inspiring person was my mother. She was very much a determined person. I was actually talking about this the other day with someone asking what's the best book I've ever read. And it's a psychotherapy book called Deep in Search of Self, which was written in 1956.
Wow.
And it's about this woman wrote a book about her relationship with this boy who was not communicating with the world, who didn't have any friends at school. Quite a sad story. But he came through after having these sessions with this woman. I think that book should be given to anyone who wants to work with children.
What's the book called again?
DIBS, DIBS, In Search of Self. Virginia actually wrote it. That book has been has had such a huge impact on me.
Amazing.
It's just about relationships with people, and it's one of my success principles. It's about relationships, and creating those winning relationships with people.
Yeah.
It's no longer about dating anymore.
Absolutely. And sort of giving back. Well, last question, Nyasha. What does living like a champion mean to you? The champion of champions.
Living like a champion for me is having the freedom to do what I want to do.
Oh, I didn't say that.
I just love it. And being so focused and being a doer. Getting on with it. And,
I love it. It's amazing. You're still a doer.
I'm still a doer today. I just like doing things.
So just before we close off, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. Is there an ebook they can get? Is there how they can reach you if they want to talk to you? To work with them, coach them, train them.
Yes, I'm actually I wanted to just say something about my mastermind. I'm calling it a blueprint, 12-month mentoring mastermind, starting on the 1st of November. And if anyone wants to contact me through LinkedIn. And as I said, I've got a website, which is my name, nyashagwatidzo.com. On there, you can email me, and you can message me, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll tell you more about the blueprint, about my 7 guiding principles about how to grow a social enterprise.
And this right there, guys. This right there is priceless, because you're not just getting, and I've known Nyasha for a while, I've been to her farm, I've seen all of the things that she does. You're not just getting principles of business here, but you're getting principles of life, and all the highs and the lows and everything that goes with it. So definitely you wanna take advantage of that. Nyasha, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
I always learn so much from you every time.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Always a pleasure. Anytime.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hold on one second before we close. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so grateful to have Nyasha here with us. So just covering a couple of quick tips in what she shared. She talked about the thing that caught me the most was her attitude to just do it. Her attitude to just do it and not think about it, just get into it, to focus on your uniqueness. How unique can you be in business? How can you be different so that you can stand out? The mindset shift that you need to have in order to create that. Her World Impact Capital Fund, how she intends to impact women entrepreneurs across the globe. And she's constantly doing this now. You want to get in touch with Nyasha, go to nyashagwatidzo.com, find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. She's everywhere. Focus on and ask her about her 12-month mentoring program. Why would you not want to learn from someone who has done from 0 to 150 million and built global businesses and still continue to impact lives across the globe? Why would you not want to get in touch? Go and do it now. Take the initiative, get in touch with her now, and let her know that you are here to support. You want to support others, and you want to build a business that will definitely impact the world, as she has as well. So go to nyashagwatidzo.com, send and leave all your details. This is Camilita here from the Camilita Podcast, as always, bringing the best to you from across the globe. I'll see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you at the top.